Good morning, or I guess it's afternoon. Good afternoon from Boisfort. If you're tuning in, I know my dad's tuning in, or he will be shortly. I'm Marika, and I'm a songwriter. I'm from the United States. I've been living in Brussels for the last 3+ years, and I write songs with people from their stories using a method that I co-developed that I call story to song. So starting with a person's spoken or written story and then shaping as many of their original words as possible and hopefully using their voice to drive the melody and the verses and chorus. And in these songs, there's the chorus generally, I say generally or usually, but not that there's anything usual in at least my creative process. It's always kind of a unique thing, but tend to be some patterns. And one is that the chorus is often, it's either a call to action or a communication of an experience, an emotion, something from, the human life that tends to be a universal or that many people can connect with. So then the verses are kind of action oriented. There's verb, there's, active happening, unfolding of the story events. And then the chorus brings you back into the why, the so what of the story, what it means for that person. And then what it means for you is, is for you. It's like, anything. It's like a piece of art. Once it's out there, it takes on its own energy, its own experience and momentum. And the way that we relate to stories and people and events in life, it's like one layer that's influenced by so many of the layers of our life experience. So this song that I've been working on a song for the last week and a half since I met a man from Gambia at the Fezziel Arrival Center in Brussels, where I volunteer on Monday afternoons with my co-volunteer, Sarah Reeder Harris. And she's a poet and writer, and we work together and, invite people to share their stories. And he spoke a story to me, and then after I tried to write down as much as I possibly could remember. And I've been struggling ever since to try to write a song from his really harrowing journey, something that has meaning, that isn't trite or cliche or just like an easy rhyme. But it's like a really daunting task. He said to me, from Africa, it's a long story. And I struggled with that as like the first line of the chorus for a while. From Africa, it's a long story. And I kept trying to sing from Africa, and it didn't feel good to sing. And my husband said, what if you just take out from and you just write Africa? It's a long story. And sort of try to communicate in the singing just of that line the immensity and gravity of what it means for Africa to be a long story. And there's how do you do that? I don't know. I spent 6 months in Africa, and I don't pretend to really know what it means to be from Africa or to, like this guy. He spent over 2,000 euros to get from Gambia to Libya to cross a really dangerous sea in this boat, that really looks like this kind of blown up raft with 85 people to get to Italy. And somehow all 85 people made it. But, after he was there, he saw a boat come in with, they probably had 80+ people and there were only 4. Yeah. I complain about the bus leaving early. It's like perspective. So, I didn't ask this man to sing because I hadn't written down any of his words, and I think he just wanted to talk. And I don't know. Some people that, share their story and they say, but that's just for you. I don't know. We just didn't quite get to that point, and I wish that we had, because I usually try to derive the melody by, connecting the person's voice with their personal story. I think there's something that I certainly can't explain, but there is a connection, an energy between a person's really kind of like deepest voice and melody and their story. But so I had to struggle and try to create the melody on my own. And so I've spent many, many hours, and I've had little kind of like breakthrough moments where I felt like, okay, maybe I'm onto something. And it might not be that I'm onto something, but just that the story is revealing itself. And I happened to notice, like in a musical way. Because I think it's really important anyway to share these stories. It's also, I think, important to share them as music, because music is a universal language. And I think every single person's story is important and should be shared. But especially people who are disenfranchised, who are in this limbo, who who have been vilified. I mean, like, I come from the United States, and there's this wave of crazy fear about, over people who are different. I mean, this guy from Gambia told us that in Italy, people wouldn't talk to him because he was Black. I mean, they would just stare at him or not make eye contact, tell him to go back where he came from. I mean, it's 2020, but fear, even though it's, quote, not real, it's powerful if you make it real. So with that, I have a chorus, and I have 2 verses. So it's not finished. I think I'd like to kind of put, after you kind of have like a repeat verse, chorus, verse, however you do it, it starts to feel a little bit like, repetitive. And so putting a bridge in can shake things up a little bit melodically. Can also, especially for a song that has this sort of like many points of tension, because, each leg of his journey was just so harrowing that it can be, I think, helpful to sort of put all that building tension and message into the bridge. And then you have the, sort of resolution coming in with the chorus, at least resolution in this case, by coming back to the first note of the chord, so that at least the body has a feeling of resolution, even if the story doesn't have an ending yet. And I'm going to sing it for you, what I have so far. Africa. It's a long story. Cross checkpoints and desert, over land and sea, from Gambia to Belgium, by way of Italy. When you cross the border, you are free. When you cross the border, you are free. I went from Gambia to Senegal to Mali, Burkina Faso. Took the back way into Libya to avoid getting caught. Across the Sahara, neath the desert sun, in a pickup truck. At every checkpoint you have to pay, or they won't let you stay. Africa, it's a long story. Cross checkpoints and desert, over land and sea, from Gambia to Belgium, by way of Italy. When you cross the border, you are free. When you cross the border, you are free. If you go to AAA and say, I want to go to Italy, they say, go see this man and hide from the police. From Tripoli by boat is 10 hours. From Zawara 4 or 5. It's cold, you can't drink, you don't lie down. You're lucky if you survive. Africa, it's a long story. Cross checkpoints and desert, over land and sea. From Gambia to Belgium, by way of Italy. When you cross the border, you are free. When you cross the border, you are free. So that's what I have so far. I mean, the bitter, sweet. I don't know if there's much sweet, but I mean, so there's yes, it's the sweet bitter. When you cross the border, you're free, he said. You know, but then when you think about it, I mean, honestly, he was able to cross the border and say that he was seeking asylum, but is he free? You know, and he doesn't get to decide. I mean, except, I don't know, some people say, well, nobody can take your freedom, you know, from your mind, from your heart. But he's also said, you know, he's seen how people in Europe live, and it's so much harder in Africa. He doesn't want to go back. I don't blame him. I hope he can stay. So I'm going to keep working on that song because that seems to be something I can do in a small way to shift the energy of the world, even if I can't grant the positive for every person I meet who wants a better life to stay in Belgium. And I'll be back with more, hopefully soon. Thanks for listening.